Good afternoon, everybody, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. I am your host, Greg Romero Wilson, comedian extraordinaire, friend to those of us watching on Facebook Live, which I do with my friends, with my friend page, not with my fan page, but I do with my friend page because that's when people actually tend to watch it. It's great. I get to communicate with friends out there that I haven't seen in a while, and so it's really fun. Steven Stubbs, thanks for tuning in. This is the show, Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. We're talking Week 5. Let's go through the games. Ray Anderson, thanks for tuning in. If you're listening to the podcast, you'll hear me talk to the people, my friends on Facebook that tend to join in. Let me know some of the things that may have happened to you in your fantasy football weekend. Once again, Tanya Estrada, how are you, darling? I love you so much. Hey, Lucha Libre coming up. That looks exciting. Okay, so let's just talk about it. Let's start last night with the Washington versus New Orleans game, which I took out, love you, baby, which I took out Adrian Peterson. Even though he had that big revenge game factor, remember the storyline that he was going to be coming in and you know, he wanted revenge against New Orleans. And I was like, this is a little too, because in my mind, New Orleans was going to get out to an early lead, and then playing from behind, it was going to be all Christian Thompson. Now, Adrian did seem to hyperextend his knee and everything, so essentially right off the bat, the whole storyline fell apart. I felt like a genius for doing that. Now, on the flip side of that, I took him out, I put in Matt Breida. And Matt Breida got injured a little way into the second quarter, but before that happened, he still managed to rack up 12 points, which, I mean, the day he would have had like a 30, 40-point day if he would have stayed in the game. And now, unfortunately, he's out for like weeks, and I don't know what to do with him right now. I got to think about it over the next few days because they're saying it's a high ankle sprain for Matt Breida, and if that's the case, anyways, back to New Orleans. And the thing about it, Mark Ingram coming back, and I was saying this might really negatively affect both Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara. Because once they go to that two-man running game, they throw the ball a lot less. Well, not on that night, not last night, not with the record and everything else that happened. He threw 200 yards before halftime. He almost hit the 500 TD mark, which he could have on that last play, but he was a gentleman. He was like, nah, I'm going to save this one for the next game. That was pretty remarkable, but it did absolutely affect Alvin Kamara's rate. Mark Ingram ended up getting 2 touchdowns, and Alvin Kamara ended up getting no touchdowns. By the way, once again, I would like to thank my good buddy for getting me the hat that has the D, in the right direction when I'm shooting this in self-portrait mode. So thank you, Mike Boucher, Dan Glazer. Thanks for tuning in to Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. So I'm just going through everything that happened. So Drew Brees, which actually it turned out to be great for me that Brees went off because I was winning. I was like tied up. He had Christian Thompson. I had Drew Brees. I felt pretty confident, but I was afraid that if they just passed it to Christian Thompson all night and then Drew Brees was minimized by the run game, that it might work out in his favor. But boy, woo. And that's the thing, in my other league, I was playing against Drew Brees, but luckily that game was pretty much already settled and not in my favor. This week, once again, Richard Barba, how are you, brother? Once again, this week, I went 1-1. Both my teams are currently sitting at 3-2, so they're on the right side of 500, and they're both very high-scoring teams. I'm in second place in my league of record, and I'm in third place in the Comedians League, which I am the commissioner of. But I was playing Jack Jr., our points leader, and listen, when he got 29 points from Eric Ebron on Thursday night, and he was playing his other tight end, which was Zach Ertz, which I had a chance until Ertz caught a touchdown, and then it was game over. And here's the other thing that gave me a shot at it, was the fact that I had Deshaun Watson. Okay, so once again, my beautiful Dallas Cowboys, my babies, my favorite team in the whole universe, was used against me to defeat me, which was very upsetting. It was very upsetting because the defense, Deshaun Watson might have run in 3 touchdowns against pretty much any other team. Deshaun Watson ends up with 4 TDs on the night and he runs those in. But my mighty Dallas defense, who people are completely underrating, and I think it's time we got to start talking about this Dallas defense because they 3 goal line stands, shut them down, forced the kick. I was both elated and devastated at the same time. Thank you, Fantasy Football, for making it all so painful. Yeah, again, if he would have gotten in those three, Jason Boyd is like, Watson killed me too. Yes, if he would have gotten in those 3 touchdowns, that would have been amazing. But instead, and then he didn't even pass for those touchdowns. Like, he just didn't get 3 touchdowns that he absolutely should have gotten. He has that 4 touchdown night, and we're both in the winner's circle, my man. But that shit did not happen. So it didn't affect him, but it did. And with Washington, exactly what I said about Adrian Peterson. I was worried about the narrative not working out because they'd be playing from behind. That's exactly what happened. But he must be hurt in some way that I haven't looked at yet today. But it must be because at the end, Bibbs got to go in and score a touchdown, not Adrian Peterson, who had been the goal line hammer. So that was all very strange. But I was right about most of those things, and New Orleans, of course, dominated that game. New England and Indianapolis, I mean, listen, it was what we said. Tom Brady, back to form, throwing the ball all over the Sony Michel and James White. That was the other thing. I was playing against James White, and he was a guy I wasn't really afraid of. But, of course, he went off, too. We talked about this game already. And I think Andrew Luck, now, he's one of these quarterbacks you're seeing. Same with Aaron Rodgers. Like, they're getting out of the gate. Phillip Rivers, he's getting out of the gate pretty hot. But a lot of these guys, Aaron Rodgers had he had 2 points maybe, or 8 points. He had terrible passing points in the first half, and then went off for 4 touchdowns and 350 yards in the second half. And Andrew Luck is pretty much doing the same thing. These are these guys, don't worry about what you see in the first half. These are second half guys. John Stringer, what's up, buddy? How you doing? You got any fantasy football questions for me? It's good to see you, man. Also, did you guys see today that the Jaguars have signed Jamal Charles? I don't know. Grab him on the wire wire. See what happens. Okay, so let's talk about Tennessee at Buffalo. Okay, first of all, Buffalo, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck is this team? Now, I said this was going to be a defensive battle, and sure enough, it turned into it. But I thought Tennessee was going to run away with this thing in a rout, actually. And Buffalo managed to just completely shut them down. Hey, beautiful, you, who's so handsome? John Stringer is. But Tennessee, Buffalo was just, they were just trading kicks all fucking day. And I thought Tennessee was going to run away with that one. But unfortunately, Buffalo got them by a point. But it finally started handing the ball to LaShawn McCoy. So if you're a LaShawn McCoy owner, hopefully this begins to be an uptick. And yes, John Stringer, Detroit did beat the Pack. Let's jump to that game because I had called Detroit to win the game because the Packers have no receivers. By the same token, I had been offered a trade of Russell Wilson and Devontae Adams for Tyler Boyd. Just for Tyler Boyd. And I needed a backup quarterback this week because I have Brees. I turned it down because Devontae Adams has been a little beat up and Tyler Boyd had been extraordinary. Oh my God. And Russell Wilson hasn't been Russell Wilson. Boy, do I regret that today. Because I turned it down. Devontae Adams fucking went off for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then, and Russell Wilson got right back on track and threw for 3 TDs. So, because I turned down this stupid trade, and the other thing, guess what else? Remember I was talking about Derrick Henry? How I was like, I don't want to get rid of Derrick Henry because I know the second I drop Derrick Henry, he's going to go off and be Derrick Henry. Well, that didn't happen with Derrick Henry, but of course it happened with Isaiah Crowell. I hate the Jets. I hate the inconsistency. I hate the way they use him. And so I dropped him for Nick Chubb. Okay? Nick Chubb got 0.2 points. Okay? He didn't even see the fucking field. He ran the ball twice. Isaiah Crowell ran for over 200 yards and 2 TDs because I dropped him. That's what happens. That's what happens. The second I drop a guy, he's going to go fucking nuts. And I know, Jack, you're trying to pick him up on the waiver wire. It's never going to fall to you. You're not going to get him because you're the last person. Yeah, and Jack right now has one of these teams. Jack Jr., great comedian. Look him up. He has this great team that is just, it's amazing. He's having one of those seasons where everything's kind of just going right for him. If you look at the team on paper and it's okay, it's a good team, but this team is playing its brains out. Let me see if let's look at what he got. He has Drew Brees, Marshawn Lynch, who didn't do that well, but Todd Gurley. And once again, Todd Gurley is becoming one of those teams, one of those players that just like last year, whoever's got Todd Gurley is probably going to win your league. 3 fucking touchdowns from this guy. But he's got A.J. Greens, Robert Woods, who's producing, Eric Ebron, Zach Ertz. His kicker's Robbie Gould, which absolutely tanked. And that was the one place I had opportunity. But because I picked Dan Bailey, which Dan Bailey, even though he missed 2, he still gave me 12.5 points, which for a kicker is fucking great. And yes, the Chiefs did beat the Jags. I thought that but again, that was the best that Chiefs defense has looked all season. This is the Chiefs defense that you were waiting for, and they finally showed up. Natasha Price, how are you? Welcome to the broadcast. Let me know if you have any fantasy football questions. Tim Bateman, thank you for that. Yeah, Robbie Gould ended up eating a dick. But unfortunately, if I played Isaiah Crowell, I might have had a chance. But I let him go, and that's what happens when I let a player go. That's when he flourishes. Like all of my ex-girlfriends. They all found true love the moment we broke up. It's really, truly amazing. Okay, so I mean, listen, he has a great team. And again, as I said, both my teams, 3-2. I'm in third place in one league, second place in the other. We're doing okay. So, in terms of Thursday picks, I don't know yet. Haven't looked at those games yet, so I don't know what's happening. Let's keep going through this. The Giants at Carolina. Thank you, Carolina, for finishing them off, you idiots. Okay? I predicted you guys to run away with this one against a Giants team that has been eating cocks. And then you're at home, and you guys you made the Giants look fantastic. Now, as a Saquon Barkley owner, that 56-yard pass from Odell Beckham, greatest thing in my life. I was like, woo, fucking jizz fest. I actually do. I have a ton of sheets of paper with all these notes, but today I'm just going off the cuff because I didn't have time. So today we're just going through the games and talking about the players. So yes, I still have Saquon Barkley, and it's weird that the Giants would play the best game of their season, and yet then Beckham decides to attack his quarterback, and he forced the ball to him like 100 fucking times. It was weird. It was like, what are you upset about, Tanya? Yeah. All right, so that was very, very strange. Also, Derrick Henry, I am fucking done with you. This guy, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know. I can't quit you, Derrick. I can't quit. I just see the potential in you. I believe in you. This is such an abusive relationship. But if I get Isaiah Crowell back or even Mike Davis, fuck you, Derrick. Go live your life. But Buffalo, yeah, who knows who the fuck they are. This is one of those teams. Buffalo is one of those teams that they're just so much better at home. Okay. Miami and Cincinnati. I said Cincinnati, but that Miami defense was pretty tough, and they gave them some trouble. But in the end, at home, Cincinnati's defense was just too strong for them, and that's what I said was going to happen. It's exactly what happened. I said it was going to be a huge day for Joe Mixon. It was a huge day for Joe Mixon. I thought it might be a big day. John Johnson, what's up? I know, I saw the hats fall on the floor. I can see it right there. See, they felt that. What are you going to do? Listen, I'm doing this in my kitchen office. What are you going to do? But I said that Cincinnati was going to have a pretty big day. I like the Red Rifle. Even though he had a bunch of turnovers, he put up some points. He was all right. Miami struggled on the offense, but Kenyon Drake came alive. Kenyon Drake. And we'll talk about that. Let's talk about the Cowboys coach really quickly, Tim Bateman. I was texting everybody I know last night saying, listen, I'm at that point where I was with Romo, where I was like, I'm done. Yeah, that kitchen office. This is where I'm at. This is what I work from. So I was telling everybody, I'm at that point now where I'm done with Garrett. I'm done with Garrett the way I've been done with Romo. I'm done with Garrett. And so, it's time to get somebody with. But again, the problem, and we've talked about this, the problem is the owner. It's Jerry Jones. It's Jerry Jones being general manager and getting out there and acting like he's a coach and criticize. It's like, get the fuck back up to your fucking, the top of your ivory tower where you fucking belong, old man, and quit fucking things up for everybody else. But he's the owner of the greatest franchise in the world. What do you want me to do at the end of the day? I love this guy. All right. Baltimore, Cleveland. This is another one that I said was going to be a heavy defensive battle. Right after you benched him, right, Rebecca? Yes. Who was it that you benched? Who went off? Oh, Crowell. Are you talking about Crowell? See, Crowell is one of those guys that, yeah, exactly. No, that's, okay, so Crowell's one of these guys that he's only good every other game but you have to play him every game to get the benefit. That's the problem with Isaiah Crowell. And he doesn't get the touches for you to want to put him in. You don't want to put a guy every single week that only gets 3 to 6 touches per week. But then he manages to take them and fucking go off for 200 fucking yards. It's fucking crazy. And yes, Kenyon Drake, he was another one. And I said I didn't trust him. And that, but yes, Kenyon Drake also, he's a guy that a lot of people probably had on their bench. And he finally went off. And when you put him back in your lineup next week, that somehow Frank Gore is going to come in and fucking steal 1 million of his touches. But let's hope this is the week to get Kenyon Drake. And if you have Kenyon Drake, this might be the week to try and trade him and get some other pieces if he's a guy that you're leaving on your bench, because people are now going to be thirsty for that Drake dick. So go out there and get... They're going to be Drake thirsty. So go out there and trade him if you can. And yes, Jason Garrett is a kiss ass whose main job is simply doing Jerry's bidding. He's essentially a puppet coach. He's there, whatever. I mean, he makes decisions, but at the end of the day, Jerry Jones is the one with the hand up his ass telling him what he wants to have happen. So, to be honest, that headphone he wears should just go to Jerry, and they should have Jerry up there with his headphones going, no, I want you to go for it right now. Don't come out later and be like, we should have gone for it. Put on a fucking headset if you're the goddamn coach. All right, moving on. Yeah, trade, Rebecca, yes, trade Drake this week. Great week to trade him. You're going to be able to get some good pieces for him because the running back division is so thin, and you don't know if yesterday was the start of something real or if it was just, one game, and then next week, Gore goes and messes it all up for him again. Because Gore, last time I checked, I don't know if he's injured. I would have to check, but I don't think he was. I think, Drake just finally have a good game. Allison Weber, what's going on? How are you? You want to do the show on Saturday at the Ha-Ha? We could use this week. Okay. Baltimore, Cleveland. This was one of my great calls of the week. Njoku. All the pros were like, he is the sit of the week. Not going to get nothing against Baltimore. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I kind of wanted Jeff Swaim and I kind of wanted Hayden Hurst, but I stuck with Njoku. And sure enough, what did I say? When Baker Mayfield scrambles, Njoku's going to be the outlet pass. And if you watched the game, what you saw was when they get Njoku going, the rest of the offense gets going. And that's why he was more involved in the second half. He had his highest number of receptions of the year, and he ended up giving me about 10 points. So considering he didn't score a touchdown, that's from a tight end, that's pretty fucking good. Let's see what we had here. Njoku, he gave me 10 points, 9.9. So listen, considering how thin that division is and how many people have been coming up with no points, I'll take it. All right. Let's keep going. Let's go back to... Okay, so next, Green Bay at Detroit. I picked Detroit. I said Detroit was going to get him because Green Bay had no receivers. Now, that turned out to be a boon for the owners of Devontae Adams, who I thought, he was injured too, but he came out, looked strong. I think he got 2 touchdowns, some shit like that. He had a monster game after I turned down the trade for him. Of course, listen, if I turn something down or turn it loose onto the waiver wire, grab that shit immediately because they're about to explode. Because that's what the universe likes to do to me. It likes to just fucking rub egg all over my fucking face. But I'm still doing pretty good. A lot of my bets are still paying off. Let's move on to Jacksonville at Kansas City. I thought because Kansas City's defense had been playing so poorly that I thought ultimately in the end Jacksonville was going to be able to put up enough points to pull it out. And I also said that Patrick Mahomes was going to have a very mediocre day and there were other guys I liked more. Now, to that end, I had said Phillip Rivers I liked more, and I had also said that I liked Cam Newton more. Now, in fact, Mahomes did not have a great day. He only wound up giving you, depending on your scoring system, anywhere between 15 and 19 points. But Cam, against the lowly Chargers, he managed to outscore him just a little bit. Again, in this league, 16, but in some leagues, he only got you 18. But he ended up being 1 point better than Mahomes. So I was right, but not by what I thought it was going to be. But Phillip Rivers, on the other hand, where's Rivers? Phillip Rivers, he did outpoint him bad, 21 points versus 15. So it's exactly what I said. What I said was true. I thought Cam would do a lot better, but I knew Mahomes was going to get slowed down by that Jacksonville defense. And if he hadn't run in that touchdown, his point total would have been much lower because that was the only touchdown he got. Now, let's talk about Tyreek Hill. Any other Tyreek Hill owners out there? Okay, this guy, I was hoping for a huge game because of the mouthing going off with Jalen Ramsey. I thought he'd get some big slants, run it up the field, do some things. Meanwhile, what we're seeing is a guy that had that one monster opening day, and this happens. This is why opening day, first game, is always a bunch of fucking, is a mirage. It's always an anomaly, an aberration. It's always different from the rest of the season. He's the guy that had that monster opening day and now can't get shit done. And on an offense that is firing off on everybody, that's going nuts. So, listen, again, and he's getting you 10 points, 12 points, 8 points, but that's not what you want out of Tyreek Hill, and it's not what you should be getting out of Tyreek Hill. And John Johnson, listen, your lips to God's ears. Hill is going to be going big soon. I hope so, because he's not a guy you can sit. I thought about it this week. I actually thought about sitting him for Jordy Nelson. I was like, you can't sit Tyreek Hill, especially when there was that much on the line this week. But ultimately, Jordy Nelson did score more points this week than Tyreek Hill. And he's so dynamic. I just need to have one more big game so I can fucking trade him. That's what I'm going to do. He is always dangerous. And that's the thing is they use him more as a decoy. And so that's really the thing. Antonio Brown has been disappointing, but we saw this week he's finally starting to come alive. He is starting to finally come together. They finally got it going. He hit him on that long bomb for the touchdown. It's not 1,000% back, but I think it's when Connor does his Le'Veon Bell impression and actually puts up big points. That's when it finally loosens up for AB down the field. He's able to get shit done. So let's keep going. That was Kansas City. Jacksonville. Fuck Jacksonville. This is the problem with having... I liked Keelan Cole going into this. Again, because of this porous Kansas City defense. Instead, they made that Kansas City defense look like the fucking Jaguars. That was amazing. They just really... It's Bortles. It's Bortles. If he's not at home with an entire stadium, helping him, not even just like, you can do it, come on, then he can't. I hate Bortles with all my heart, and he ruins everybody else on the team. Although I did say TJ Yeldon would have a big day, and he had a pretty fucking good day. Let's see what we got out of TJ Yeldon. But he was a guy that, there we go. He came in fourth or fifth behind Saquon Barkley, put up 26 points. I said he was going to have a big day, and he did. So, Cooper Kupp right now is in concussion protocol. So he, right now, I don't know that he's anybody, you're going to even be able to use him next week. And in terms of Goff, I don't know. I haven't looked at the matchups. We'll be discussing that later this week, my man, Robert Torres. Thanks for the question. But Goff right now seems to be an every week play. If you shy away from Goff, that's kind of on you. But if Kupp doesn't play, if Brandon Cooks also doesn't play, which Brandon Cooks I think is already ruled out, then that leaves you with just one guy, and then maybe you do think about sitting Goff. But again, we will have to look at this a little bit later. Should OBJ keep hanging out with Lil Wayne? I don't know. Lil Wayne is just doing fucking giant commercials for Genesis, which I guess is Hyundai. So, I don't know. And yes, activate Cousins, Cardinals defense. Yes, Cardinals defense can't stop anyone except for the Niners. Apparently, they can stop the fucking Niners. So, and that again, but Brado was on his way to a record-setting day. And again, John Johnson, when it comes to next week's matchup, Jordy Nelson or Crabtree, I'm going Jordy Nelson in that match. Although Crabtree and Flacco started to finally connect this last week. And let's look at that game. Okay, if we're going to talk, let's talk about that. It was an interesting, Flacco, and he couldn't hit John Brown, even though he did target him quite a bit. And I think if he was able to connect with John Brown a little bit more, but towards the end of the game, it was all Crabtree. So at this point, it would depend on the matchups. It's always matchup-based. So I would have to look at it, and I don't see it right now in front of me. And again, we're not doing next week just yet. We're doing last week right now. Moving on, let's move on to that Kansas City game. Talk about the Jets versus Denver. Jets, who the fuck are the Jets? This is another team. Rocky Dale Davis, what's up, brother? Welcome to the podcast. The Jets are another one of these teams that they're just a different team at home. And I guess the same is true as Denver, because their defense made the Jets look like the fucking Rams. It was unbelievable. They let Crowell run all the fuck over them. What the fuck was that shit? They made Robbie Anderson come alive. Robbie Anderson fucking exploded. I know. Remember, Jonathan, I was saying the Crow? Remember, I was like, the Crow looks good, but they kept fucking all day long to Bilal Powell. And I was like, I finally got sick of it because I hate this team. I hate Sam Darnold. So I was like, I don't want nothing to do with you. And of course, the second I put him on the waiver wire, he's going to go off. That's what's going to happen. And Jay Ajayi, you had Ajayi this week? Listen, Jay Ajayi has been untrustworthy for 2 seasons. Fuck Jay Ajayi. I would never have drafted that cocksucker. And now he's out on you again because he's always had bad knees. He ain't got no cartilage or some shit. Fuck Jay Ajayi. Go get Wendell Smallwood. He looks like the guy who's going to get the majority of the touches, even though I thought it would be Corey Clement. Okay. But the Jets, this is a team fucking helter-skelter, heckle and jive. What the fuck is going on with this team? I have no idea. Denver, again, he was a streaming option I like with Keenum, but then he managed to throw a couple interceptions. The Jets are just a better team at home. Again, they need the crowd to tell them they're good. And Philip Richardson he's coming on. He seems to be the guy to get in Washington. A good waiver wire pickup this week is Richardson. Oh, there you go. If you had Cooper Kupp, then you were very, very... But again, Cooper Kupp now in concussion protocol. So, you may have to look and see what's going on out there. Atlanta at Pittsburgh. Finally, the AB connection started to happen. It was all coming together. He was getting the targets. He got the receptions. He got the touchdown. Big time points. He's what kept me in that matchup with Jack Jr. Well, and John Johnson, yes, going back to Deshaun Watson really quick, that's what we talked about at the top of the podcast. He should have had 3 running touchdowns and a pass touchdown. And so it was just, and then he wound up with 1 touchdown instead of, that was very fucking annoying. But it also, my Dallas defense, woo, they really showed 3 goal line stands. We got to start talking about the Dallas defense. They have to be a streaming option. But Pittsburgh, they look great. Atlanta looked like garbage. Devontae Freeman was supposed to come back and have a good day, and instead he couldn't get anything done. And yes, James Conner, it's like he's had 2 weeks where he looks like fucking Superman. Like he's just unstoppable. And then the other weeks, incredibly stoppable. What is going on with this guy? And that's all I want from Conner is some consistency. And I think when they lean on that, oh, you got that 0.5 victory? Oh, that's a good win. Chris Godwin, I'm not sure about just yet. And the only reason I say that is because Jameis Winston didn't look so good in his comeback, so we got to see what happens this week. And so, because I think that's who we're talking about, right? Anyways. Okay. Pittsburgh, so Pittsburgh was running on all cylinders. Obviously, if you're a Juju Smith owner, you were probably a little bit disappointed. But Atlanta, if you're playing anybody, Atlanta, although Hooper, I had said I liked Hooper to have a big day, and sure enough, Hooper did have a big day. Julio Jones had a very big day, but overall, the rest of the team really floundered. And in fact, Calvin Ridley back down to earth, just like Tyler Boyd. And you got to wonder if it's, okay, do I start Dalton, Rodgers, Trubisky? I mean, you probably want to stick with Rodgers, because no matter what, you don't want to bet against him. Look at what he did with the 8, you having no point, like 2 point fantasy points in the first half, and like 38 by the end of the second half. You stick with Aaron Rodgers. But again, we're going to be talking about next week's games later this week. And people are talking about Blue in Texas. But, here's the thing about Alfred Blue. Even in a lead back position, he's just not that good. Okay? He's at best... and no, Le'Veon Bell is not scheduled to play. We don't have, no one knows shit about him yet. The earliest would be week 8 at this point with Le'Veon Bell. But Connor, when he plays right, he's unbelievable. But Alfred Blue, listen, he's at best a flex play. Even when he has the lead reins, he's just one of those guys that's just not that great. And the fact that they haven't replaced him yet and found somebody else, they thought it was going to be Deontay Foreman, but I guess it's not him. Like, they just keep going with Alfred Blue. And listen, if you play Alfred Blue, you're probably going to be a little disappointed at the end of the day. All right. The Chargers at Oakland. I told you this would be a great game. I thought Oakland would do a lot better than this although I said the Chargers defense, play the Chargers defense. Sure enough, they churned up great points. Phillip Rivers had a great day. My boy Melvin Gordon had a great day. But of course, I sat Austin Eckler for Derrick Henry because I was looking at opinion. Is Bell going to the Eagles? Is that a real thing? Is it something I missed? I'm looking at the thing right now. Could Eagles make a move for LaShawn McCoy? I don't see that yet. If that's a new piece of information, let me know if that's real. Vincent Oshana, how are you, buddy? Good to see you. Welcome to the podcast. But I said that the Chargers were going to go off. I expected it to be a fairly good day for Oakland, but luckily it wasn't because I was playing against Marshawn Lynch. The Cowboys, please, the Giants suck way worse, okay? We should have won that game. You guys lost, and you should have lost. So fuck you, Giants. Cowboys rule. Go for yourself. Cowboys, number 1, Cowboys. Vince and I have been going, we always go back and forth. And he only hits me up when the Cowboys lose, even though I hit him up when the Giants go and eat cock, and he never says fucking shit. You're a punk, Vincent Oshana, but I love you with all my heart, and I'll never stop loving you. I can't quit you. Okay. And by the way, he's a fantastic comedian. Please look up Vincent Oshada. And Jonathan Gregory as well. Look these guys up. All super funny guys. No, yeah, Bell will never play with the Steelers again. It does look super fucking doubtful right now. Hey, thanks, my man. Thank you, Ross. I appreciate that comment. Okay, he's like, I don't know anything about this, but you seem pretty funny. So he's like, I like your comedy. All right, so the Chargers, big day. It's what I said. Philadelphia versus Minnesota. I thought Philadelphia was going to go fucking off on Minnesota, and they did. And okay, but this is the game you wanted to see out of Minnesota. This is the team that you thought they could be. That defense looked like the Minnesota defense again, holding down this Philadelphia offense in Philadelphia. And if you think I wasn't shooting loads in my pants watching Philadelphia get beat on their own turf, you are wrong, my friend, because I was squirting like a fucking fountain. It was ridiculous. I was like, fucking get up, and then Ajayi goes out, and then it was great. Fuck them all. But I think Wendell Smallwood's the guy to pick up off the waiver wire this week. But pick up Corey Clement too, because he might be able to. And yes, Thielen seems absolutely unstoppable. But, Diggs had a great day too. Both of them had huge days. And it was one of those things where I went with Diggs over Thielen. And Thielen's just proven that this guy is a future Hall of Famer. He is just unstoppable. And then again, with the running back situation, Dalvin Cook was back, but he wasn't for very long. And then, I don't know. I don't like that Minnesota running back situation. If somebody tries to unload Dalvin Cook, I mean, you can buy him right now, but I don't know what you're getting. I don't think you should take it. Arizona and San Francisco. Wow, San Francisco. Listen, I realize you're from San Francisco, but do you have to suck so much cock? I mean, geez Louise, that was fucking... Of course, if you hadn't lost Matt Breida, I think you absolutely would have had an amazing game because he was tearing it up. Now it's Alfred Morris, okay, and yes, pick him up off the waiver wire because he's definitely the lead back for at least 3 weeks, a high ankle sprain, and it's just like, who knows what you're going to get. Arizona, good for you guys. You got back on track. Your defense looked good, and there's the guy to pick up off the waiver wire this week, that Christian Kirk. This is that situation, right, where the backup quarterback's been used to working with a number 2 guy, and so, and Brady versus Mahomes, that's going to be an incredible game. Start both those guys. But, okay, so it's one of those things where he's developed a relationship with this guy, Christian Kirk, and so that's who he has a chemistry with, and he only had eyes for Christian Kirk. Fuck Larry Fitzgerald and everybody else. Go out and pick up Christian Kirk off the waiver wire. He's a great flex play this week. Yes, Josh Gordon caught one pass. And listen, that's why you have Josh Gordon, but he still isn't playable. I think he's still at least 2 to 3 weeks away from playable. And then once he becomes playable, he will be on fire down the road. In fact, if you want to try and grab somebody now, try and make a trade for Josh Gordon. LA at Seattle, obviously, I thought Los Angeles was going to rock these motherfuckers. Seattle did a much better job of running the ball, and the guy I like, and you pick him up the waiver wire, is Mike Davis. Chris Carson, I think he's the change of base back now. I like the fire, I like the fury, I like Mike Davis. Yes, Mahomes is definitely setting records, but again, the tape is out on him now. He's starting to get slowed down a little bit. We've seen it 2 weeks in a row now with the Denver defense and the Jacksonville defense. So you traded Rivers and Ingram for Woods and Devontae Freeman. That's not a bad trade. That's a pretty even trade. That's not a bad trade. Because when Ingram comes back, he's going to be back to being, again, the tight end division is so bad, he should be doing all right. But LA still, again, Cooper Kupp went out, Brandon Cooks went out, but Todd Gurley is just a fucking points machine. He's that guy. He's going to be remembered in fantasy football lore the same way they talk about the running back from the Chargers. Who is that guy that was just ridiculous year after year? They're going to be talking about him like that. This guy is unstoppable. And Seattle, like I said, and I had said Tyler Lockett over, what's his name, the main number 1 guy, forget his name, don't worry about him, that came back off the injury. Tyler Lockett seemed to have a really great day. Now, let's talk about Dallas and Houston. The Dallas defense we got to start talking about them, but the passing game is still anemic. And you see Jerry Jones comes out and says, we haven't had a wide receiver 1 in forever. He's just stabbing Dez Bryant. No, you will never come back. Whatever it was, and remember I told you that I'd heard he had some personal vendetta because Dez Bryant, I guess, had hit his mom or something. It's a story I heard that I thought was far-fetched, but now I'm starting to believe it a little bit more because he seriously seems to personally not like Dez Bryant. He's you will never be a Cowboy again. Houston, though, Deshaun Watson, if he ran in those touchdowns, I mean, they won the game. I thought they were going to win the game. I hated to pick against my Cowboys, but I really did think they were going to, that Houston was going to win, and they should have won by 3 more touchdowns when my beautiful Dallas defense kept them out of the end zone, and Dallas should have won that game, but I had picked Houston, if I'm being completely honest. As much as it hurt me, that's what happened. Anyways, guys, I gotta go. I gotta go do MMA Roasted with my buddy Adam Hunter. You guys tune into that. Thank you for watching Fantasy Football, harsh reality. Get those guys off the waiver wire. We'll see you on either Thursday or Friday for the Week 6 preview. All right, you guys, thank you. And thank you for all the comments of chiming in. I fucking love it. It drives the show. You guys take care. Have a great week.